just to remind you of what a good presentation is about. I'm sure you have presented tens of times during your years at the university or even your professional life, but just a reminder. And then maybe a few things and things to add, because you will be now presenting over a Zoom, that what to pay attention to. First of all, I think a good presentation is about persuasion. And now what I'm talking about is not any presentation in general. What I'm talking about is this kind of, I'm presenting my design concept to you, judges, audience, clients. And because, of course, like you have this, at this moment, you're quite obvious that nobody expects you to have a perfect, polished concept, because that's unrealistic in a real design project as well. The point is that you're persuading the audience that you have done a good job and you're on the right track. So remember, defense lawyer last week, pretty much the same. First of all, you, of course, know your audience. Who are they? Who are you talking to? Partly, you're talking to the client. They are listening and they will be giving you comments during the week after the presentation. Partly, you're talking to me and Hanna and the coaches, because we will be writing down notes. But if you're about to be super practical, mostly you're talking to those three judges. They are your outside experts, trying to figure out, and I'm sure they are thinking about your best. So know who is your audience, but mainly that other sentence over there, what do you want them to think after your presentation? It's not just you vomit your presentation and like, whew, I'm done. But start by thinking that after you have given your presentation, what's the one thought you want your audience to have in their mind? And then maybe reverse engineer from that thought the whole presentation. And again, remember your audience, what do they know? What kind of language they use? How professional they are about design? How do they know the actual client you have been working with? No, they probably don't. And even if they know, you probably need to remind them that this is the part of this company that we work for. Second, start with a story. Most probably start with a customer story. Start with that transition. Yes, you need to say in the beginning a couple of things. Hi, this is who we are. They are with people. This is our project. And maybe a few, but maximum, let's say 3 minutes. I would suggest you go in for a story to get their attention, to get them into what you're saying. And remember the power of the story. Once you make it into a story, it's so much easier for them to start following you. Don't overlook this. And this might be your video. Most probably it is, because making this part a video is again something that, catches their attention. And yes, making a video beforehand requires a little bit of work, but then you know that at least for 5 minutes, you're super sure what you're going to say because you're going to do the video beforehand. Personally, I like in a presentation such as this next week is that you actually announce your goals and intention. Yet you say clearly, what are you trying to achieve with this presentation? You tell the audience that I'm here trying to persuade you to see, or I'm trying to convince you that we are on the right track. I'm trying to convince you that this is what our clients should do. And be super transparent about them. People don't like to be that they feel like they're manipulated into thinking something, but rather that they're open for, yeah, you can try to influence me. Yeah, you can try to convince me. I'm listening. But if you're kind of trying to manipulate them with little tricks or something like that, well, and what you're trying to generate is a feeling of a dialogue here. Again, this is really important because there is huge uncertainty in your concept at this stage. And the audience is full of professionals, full of people who understand your situation. So try to be like it's among equals, that it is, trying to get this feeling that we're here to present our stuff, but we are very open. We're not trying to tell that this is the be all end all of the concept. We're trying to build a dialogue here. I'm here to, share my ideas with you guys. I'm here. This is what I think that this is all about. And yes, it's not probably going to be an actual dialogue, but you can do little things, little tricks, maybe start a question to the judges. Use the Zoom poll feature. Ask the audience a simple question and have everybody vote. And you generate this feeling of a dialogue. How many of you have been in a situation in blah, blah, blah? Hey, you in the audience, have you ever, felt this way or that way? And it just, again, you get their attention, you get the people into the right mindset with that question, and you generate this feeling that this is a dialogue among equals. You present your stuff, and then you're kind of open for questions and comments. And it fits this course perfectly, this dialogue spirit, because that's what it is all about, isn't it? That yes, you bring together your stuff for this one presentation, but it's obvious that after this presentation, the dialogue is open. What does the client do? What do the judges say? What feedback do you get? And don't curb your enthusiasm, especially now that we're online. Tell the audience what do you are excited about in this stuff. What do you like about it? What do you think that is your strong? Don't hide your feelings because it's contagious in a good way. If you're excited about, if you're not excited about your concept, I don't think the audience will be. And, you can be excited about something that somebody else isn't. But it kind of shows that you're in a way rationally serious, but also emotionally serious about this. That you actually care about this. What you're saying is important for you because you really like this stuff, or you think that this is important, or this is what motivates you as a team, as a presenter. Don't hide this. I'm going to get back to this a little bit later. And this is something I think, especially now running these type of courses for years, is that sometimes students forget to tell what it is. And you start the presentation by telling, hi, this is our team. Then you go for the customer journey. And then it has taken 10 minutes, 15 minutes before you actually tell what's your solution. What is the key thing about the concept? And what the audience, when they come and listen to a presentation such as next Monday, they want to know as fast as possible what it is. What is this? What are they doing? Are they doing a mobile phone app? Is this a digital service? Is this a marketing? What is it? What is it? And if you don't tell them what it is, it's going to bother the audience until you do it. And they cannot pay attention to what you're saying 100% because they're like, what is it? What is it? What is it? What are they? I can't wrap my brains around it. So that's why I have Hercule Poirot here, is that this is not a detective story. Start by saying who you are, who's your client, and then tell who's the murderer. The murderer is the butler. And then spend the final 95% of describing why the butler is the murderer. This is not a detective story where you tell the murderer in the end. No. People want to know your point as soon as possible. Otherwise, they can't. They have a hard time following. Don't underestimate pictures. Don't underestimate quotes. You have been now talking with a lot of end users. Use what they said. Use it as a quote. That's a very hard evidence. This is what a real person said. And again, it's not, when you put a quotation from your end users, it's not like, this is what we are saying. It's like, no, this is not what we are saying. This is what the end users are saying. And that's, of course, much stronger than you just giving your guesswork. So think about what pictures you want to show, what quotes you want to kind of put there right in the middle. Are there some kind of slogans that, put together your thoughts, something that sticks into their people's minds, and so forth? And anecdotes, they can be something, anecdotes are mini stories. They're not full stories, but they're like mini stories, and they stick to people's minds really well. And you can open up complex things with an anecdote. And this slide is all about, it goes hand to hand together with the convincing details. So you have your story, you have your narrative, you have your concept. And now this is where the audience comes in. Look at your concept. Think about the audience. Okay, so it's going to be professionals. It's going to be the client. They are going to see that these are the weak points of our presentation. These are the weak points of our concept. And that's where you need to put into details. That's where you need to convince them. You don't need to convince the audience on stuff that is pretty obvious. So you need to be a little bit tactical about those, infographics, about those quotations, about those slogans. Put them there where you see that this is our weakest part, that this is where you need to convince the audience that you're on the right track. And then end by taking them again on board. Tell the audience that, okay, this is our final slide, that we're closing now, coming by to the end. So, just before we end, we want to really emphasize that this is the contribution we made to the client. Again, think about the audience, anticipate what are they going to ask you, what are they most probably thinking once you put your final slide there. And then revise maybe your final slides. Basic stuff. Then a few points about presenting at the age of Zoom, online presenting, which the key question, thanks to Mert for pointing this out last week, is this feeling that, am I talking alone in my garage, in Espoo? Is there anybody out there? Before that, I noticed there's a comment in chat. Hypothetical situation in a company somewhere. If you're not enthusiastic, how do you present the slides? Very good question. Thank you, Robert. Well, I think I said this very early on, is that if you're not motivated, and of course in your life you're going to have projects that you're not as motivated as in some other project. That's obvious. It cannot be, or any project that you're motivated has, parts of it where you're like, oh man, this is pure shit. I guess the simple answer is professionalism. So if you're not really motivated, then yes, on the one hand, you need to look into the mirror and figure out why you are not motivated. Well, that's something we all have to do occasionally. Then the other thing is that, okay, I'm not motivated for A, B, and C. Can I change them? No, I can't. Then the question is, how does this reflect on my coworkers? How does this reflect on my project? And that's where professionalism comes in. So a professional skill is obviously that, I'm not motivated. Or another example is that let's say my personal life situation is such that I'm not motivated about this project or something like that. Now, professionalism comes in that you generate the motivation. You just simply understand yourself so well that you kind of see the situation and you either act motivated, or even better, you go and look at the whole thing and look at the different sides of it. So like, well, actually, yeah, that kind of motivates me. Maybe the thing that motivates me is this, that after this presentation, we're pretty much done with this project. So there's a light at the end of the tunnel. This is not the rest of I don't have to stick with this project for the rest of my life. Or maybe it is something like, okay, I'm hired to do this job, at least they're paying a salary for this, or, at least I'm getting this course done with this. At least I'm getting the credits here. At least my team members are really nice people. At least for their sake, I'm going to do my share. So yeah, I guess the main point, I'm saying that if you're not motivated, you should be professional about it. And a true professional can either fake the motivation or generate the motivation. And that's where we need to understand ourselves quite a lot. And then it goes back to the very first exercise we did, that you have the external coaches, is that what do you value? What do you value in a project? What do you value in an organization? And start understanding them. Yeah, this is the crappiest project ever. This is the crappiest university ever. This is the crappiest thing I have done for ages. But I do get a degree out of this. And maybe, start pouring some water on that flower, and maybe that will generate enough motivation to get you over the hurdle. And then it's time to sit down and reflect. Yes, we're here at the, what is it called? OEA board? Anybody there? So of course, first, foremost about online presentation. Everything that applies for offline presentation applies in an online presentation, but perhaps even more. So for example, the basic stuff that I'm sure you're all familiar with, don't read from paper and be really mumbling and monotonous. That's true in online, but even more. Practice makes perfect. Yes, it works online, perhaps even more. They're going to be presenting your presentation this week, your dress rehearsal for your coach. That's really, really good practice. And, tell your coach in the beginning that, hey, can you pay attention to how does this online situation work? Can you help us with that? And here's a list I put together with a couple of points from the coaches this morning for online presentation. Mikko actually this morning said that a tip that he was given was that imagine that you're recording a podcast. Maybe you're imagining that you're recording a podcast to a friend. So, when you're looking at the camera, just like now I'm looking at the camera, I'm imagining that there's a friend of mine and I'm talking to that friend of mine as we speak. And then automatically it becomes maybe more natural, you're maybe more relaxed, and so forth and so forth. So little tricks like this, remember who you are, because now it's kind of this presentation trick where you imagine that you're talking to somebody, but it's kind of easier to imagine now because there are not 55 people in front of you. You can easily imagine that person XYZ is right there. Be more energetic, as you know. Just recording a person being energetic and looking at that recording, then I would say 15% of the energy just goes away because it's video. And remember this, that you need to be slightly more energetic in the first place, but now you need to be like 1.15 times more energetic because you're going to be broadcasting over video. One trick is, of course, that I'm going to keep my camera on. Hanna is going to be, the judge is probably going to keep their cameras on. The coaches might keep their cameras on. So we're going to, keep the cameras on to show that, hey, we're alive. Yeah, go for it. Well done. We're going to smile, laugh at your jokes, whatever. But this is something I've learned doing this stuff for now over half a year, is that if you guys turn on your cameras for after 15 seconds, you don't look normal anymore because you're at your home or you're sitting by your computer. So, you start going like this. Maybe, I'm not saying you're going to be picking your nose, but if you were in a classroom or in an auditorium, you would not physically behave the same way. So yes, we can turn our cameras on, but people are going to look very much more bored and very much more unenthusiastic than they would in a physical setting. That's just a fact. Fourth, pay attention to the rhythm changes, start with one person talking, switch to the other one, switch to the third one, these kind of rhythm things, show a video, show an example, go back forth, break the monotony of it by changing speakers, having a video presentation, pictures, so forth. I think the importance of visuals becomes really important in online presentation. And what I'm saying here, hard to follow both, is that sometimes you have you have stuff on, just like what I'm doing right now, is that you have stuff on the screen, you have text on the screen, and you're talking at the same time. These need to be synchronized. You need to be talking at the same thing. You cannot have one thing on the slides and talk about slightly different thing, because people are, it's so difficult to follow online. Offline, people can manage perhaps. I don't know, think about something interactive. Zoom is full of them. Maybe not breakout rooms, polls, asking a question, something like that. I'm sure that at least I'm going to be paying attention, that if you're going to ask a question and somebody needs to shout, I'll be the first in line, or maybe not the very first. I'm letting the audience react first, but you can count on us that there's not going to be total silence. And I mean, the judges, they're going to be game. They're going to be there. They understand the situation. They're going to be, if you want to ask them a question, then they are there. Very, very, how should I say? They're going to be very nice towards you.